Good evening. Welcome to Mount Tabor Grand Lodge YouTube channel. This is going to be an exciting conversation that I'm having with a friend that one of the sharpest young men I know. And so it's going to be really nice. We're going to talk about the spiritual end of Masonry and addressing the whole man. Now, before we get into that, I do want to say that Masonic Maturity Through Scripture is my book on Amazon, and also the Unlocking the Secrets of Freemasonry, Blue Lodge Holy Bible Reference Guide. Both of those can be acquired on Amazon.com, and they're guaranteed to further your study and your knowledge and wisdom, and hopefully contribute to your ultimate success in whatever your endeavors are. As you know and have said before, Mount Tabor Grand Lodge, our mission is to aid young men and women in the obtaining, the maintaining, and the sharing of the spirit of our Creator. So we want to provide good, wholesome instructions. And as I said, I was just telling our guest, past Grandmaster Tony Muhammad, most Preußen Sovereign Grand Commander Muhammad, Tony Muhammad, a whole bunch of titles. So I'm going to cut it short tonight and say Brother Muhammad, okay? But I'm not being disrespectful. It's just that it's all of those titles are a mouthful. This young man has been traveling for a while and is very, very knowledgeable. In fact, he has his own YouTube channel, John G. Jones Research. So check him out, subscribe, ring the bell, do that for both of us. You'll help us get where we need to be, and hopefully we'll be helping you get where you need to be, where you want to be. So without further ado, Brother Muhammad, welcome. It's been too long since we've seen one another, but hey, as I said earlier, you hit me upside the head. The other night I was listening to your podcast, and you were talking about the spiritual end of Masonry and the wholeness of the man. And of course, I've been after that, attacking that, or using that as my approach forever. So I thought it would be good for us to just go back and forth with a little conversation. I know every time I talk to you, I get words of wisdom. I get information. Now I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you. You muted. You got to take.
There you go.
Gotcha.
All right.
I tried to learn a lot of things, but what is that? Lip reading wasn't one of them. So, as I said, you touched on a topic that is near and dear to me.
Right.
I have a few years on you, so I'm in that.
Yeah, you do.
You didn't have to agree, but I'm in that stage of life where I'm concerned about legacy. Okay, I want to help younger men get where or surpass me in less time than it took me to get there. So that's my purpose. And when you mention the spiritual end of Masonry and addressing the whole man, that just kind of that did it for me. So
that did it for you.
We got to talk. So I'll start it off. You know, society today is working to break down the barriers between good and evil, right and wrong, righteous and unrighteous. And so we're in a world today where they're trying to get us to accept anything. In other words, anything goes. Now, when I was brought into the Masonic Order, I was told that Masonry was a way of life, and we are in the world, but not of the world. And they told me that we were to view ourselves as ambassadors. So I thought that was really neat, and that was, and we should act as ambassadors. So, of course, with my publications, I'm constantly trying to get to the spirit. My phrase is, we can get men, but until we get to the spirit of a man, we'll never get a Mason. Your thoughts on that?
You're absolutely correct when you say that. And as I was saying in the last podcast I did, is that we should always look when you're coming into the doors of Freemasonry. We got to we got to look to address the individual who's coming in. Oftentimes we would say we're looking to make a good man a better man. We tend to overlook that the reason that we want him to be part of this society or Freemasons or whatever label you want to put on it, because he is a good man. He's already a leader within his own right. He has a job. He has a family. Or he may not have a family. He's doing okay in life. He's a person that you want to be able to teach masonry to, not just from a physical level, like we're looking at it from a spiritual level, as you're saying. So we want to be able to introduce a few things to him from a symbolic standpoint and teach him those symbolic meanings in order to make him a better Mason. Not a better man, but a better Mason, because he's already there as a better man. He's doing the volunteer work, we hope. We hope that he's already involved in community activity. We hope that he's that guy that's out there being the example of a man. Now that he is a Mason, we want to give him those working tools spiritually as a Mason, to be able to spread the seed of brotherly love, to be able to use that gavel to better shape his thought process and look at his day by using that 24-hour gauge, and be able to gauge his time and be able to divide it equally amongst those things that he involved with. Absolutely.
Okay, outstanding. You know, I run into a lot of young men that they're looking, but not quite knowing what they're looking for. And so they have that potential. And what are your thoughts on the Masonic Order bringing that out, or building that and developing it within a man that is not necessarily on the straight and narrow right now?
Well, that's why you want that individual. If he's not on the straight and narrow right now, and you see the potential that he has, then you must be the example for that young man. You want him to be in a lodge that's going to be able to be suitable for him, and showing him the right direction of how you're supposed to be able to develop into that man through youth, manhood, and then age. Those are the three principal steps that we take. So you want to help develop his spirituality, his mental, his emotional, and his physical. And when you have all of that, you have the whole man, as we are talking about. When you're able to break that down to him from that perspective and be the example of a Mason to him that he's going to be able to follow, then you're going to be able to help shape him. That's what it was for me. When I came in as a young man, I was around those individuals who was either retired or about to retire. So Here I am, this young whippersnapper with all this zeal, wanted to read everything, and they had to pull my coattail a couple of times. But watching them help me to develop to be the man and Mason that I am now.
Well, with the world as it is today, I think we in the Masonic Order should minimize some of the horseplay because of the seriousness of the lessons we want to teach. And
Absolutely.
In our initiation process, the ceremonies, most of the time, I tend to think it's too much horseplay, because the moral and spiritual lessons being taught during even the initiation ceremony gets lost because of the horseplay. So we got to figure out a way, and I've made some adjustments over in Mount Tabor, but we need to figure out a way to impress upon them, as I said, on their spirit, the seriousness of what we're taking on, or what they're taking on.
And that's going to come with maturity and who's the wishful master. It's going to come from the top down. As a worshipful master is elected into that position, there should be classes that's going to help develop him to be the worshipful master that you want to see. So then, as a grand master, and I'm a past grand master, as we help develop them, we need to say, look, when you're doing this initiation, there is no horseplay. Because we're helping to develop this person, even though he can be 40, whatever, 20, whatever, we're helping to develop him and to be a Mason. So there's no horseplay. So when he goes through those processes or go through the first process as an enter apprentice, this is where we begin to work on those 4 attributes of the whole man, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and physical aspect. That's where
Right.
we begin to work on it. Because once he comes in and we say, because of this, it is to remind you of this, that's physical, right?
Right.
Okay, that's the physical part. Then after that, you're going to say, okay, so now we're going to go into the spiritual part when you begin to guide him, because you said to rise, follow your guide, and feel no danger. That's spirituals. Now because you don't know. So that's the spiritual aspect. And then when he begins to stop at these various points, that's going to be the mental thing, because now you're questioning him. Why are you here? And then after you do that, the emotional part is when the end comes. When the end comes, he's revealed the rights and the privileges and when we say let that, he's now revealed. So that's the emotional part. Now all of that comes into play. The ideal is like you said, to make sure that the wishful master understands that his job is a lot more important. And yeah, let's do this or let's do that. Is a lot more serious than that.
Yeah, I was explaining to my wishful masters, taking them back a little bit in terms of we are helping these guys build spiritual temples. You know, for lack of a better analogy, it's a whole bunch of tabernacles running around. You know, the tabernacles are mobile and movable, and they go from here to there, or whatever. But when you have a temple,
Mm-hmm.
it's sturdy, it's steadfast. And that's our job, is to help these guys build themselves a spiritual temple. So,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, the end result is great when you've done that, because then you don't need to be spoken for. You can go directly to the Almighty and speak yourself.
So as we look at the making of a whole man, as you and I was talking. So let's take a look at the physical part. When he comes into the door as a Mason, we're looking to develop a more discipline. If you want to look at it, we were looking to help him be more disciplined. That guy that you brought in, he's not as well disciplined as some of the other brothers. He's a little rough. So now the physical part is helping him to become more disciplined. Then after that, we're looking at the emotional part. So we're looking at how do we teach him to subdue those passions. You know, all of us got them certain things that, ooh, we all got them. So we're looking at that. And then when we were talking about the mental, we're talking about the consciousness. We want to awaken his consciousness. So now he doesn't see things as he's always seen them. Now he's looking at things differently.
Well,
So
that's once we've got them down the road, but it all starts with that one faith. I mean, that one principle, faith.
Absolutely.
Trusting your guide. And
it does.
I've had brothers cower out of that at the very beginning, because they didn't have that trust, that faith factor.
I'm gonna share this with you. And I have an old ritual, and it says to rise, follow your God, and fear no danger.
Really?
It says that because in the concept of Freemasonry, it regards no man's for his religious belief, although we may say you must have a belief in a supreme being.
Right.
So you're going to rise, follow your God, and fear no danger.
Right. I got you.
So you stand So you stand and you go about your business, knowing that your trust is in the God that you believe, whatever faith that you may have.
But now, okay, as I started off, I said the world is constantly trying to blur the lines between good and evil, right and wrong, and righteous and unrighteous. So many of these guys, they're going to tell you they believe in God, a higher being, but they have no experience, no working, no history.
So if you tell me you believe in God, I'm gonna
Right.
say, well, what has God done for you? You believe in Him, right? So what has God done for you? You told me you believe in God. My question to you is, what has God done for you so that you may believe in God?
Ooh, that's going to stump a lot of them.
Well, because you're telling me now, in order to be a Mason, in my jurisdiction, not in all, but and I'm just speaking for where I'm at. We say that in order for you to be a member, we want you to understand. Do you believe in God? Yeah, man, I believe in God. Well, what has God done for you? You believe in Him or her, whatever you want. What has He done for you?
Right. I got you.
Not yesterday, not 2,000 years ago. What has He done for you? What has that energy, that being, that it factor, that whatever, what has it done for you?
Kind of like the Janet Jackson song, huh? What has he done for
Hey,
you lately?
absolutely. Now, if you can tell me that, now we can move forward.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna need that. You're gonna need that God.
We just introduced a group of new guys, initiated them, and I told them right off the bat, you're here to become a Mason, but this is more than just being a Mason.
Absolutely.
This is about your life. And so you need to be in a place where you have congruent spirits. If you want to party and go out and smoke cigars and drink whiskey, that's great. There are a lot of us that do that. But if you want to build your spiritual temple, your spiritual life, and better yourself for your family, and I'm not saying the other guy's not doing it, but if that's your primary focus, then you're in the right place. Because every lodge has its doctrine, if you will, or it's the way it moves and travels. Same with churches.
Mm-hmm.
Some churches talk about material wealth. Some churches talk about getting to heaven. Some churches talk about feel good and treating people right. So everybody has their handle.
Yes. Go ahead. I got you. They'll get the phone.
And I personally like to talk about the spirit of increase in all 5 areas of your life. Your spiritual, your family, financial, physical, and social. So when we're doing this thing right, your spirit should be guiding you to increase in all 5 areas of your life.
So I'm gonna share this with you. So in my jurisdiction, we have what you call a Master Mason class, the do's and don'ts as a member, right? So we have certain classes we'll do. So today, our class is going to be about how can I be a better, effective leader.
Okay.
So it goes back to what we were talking about today, as far as developing the whole man, and introducing this particular discussion. We're going to touch on the very things that we're talking about right now. Because I, as a Mason, I want you to be the better man. I want you to be the better husband, cousin, uncle. I want you to be the best at it.
Right.
Okay? So you may see me have a little taste, but you're not going to see me disrespecting and slouching and slurring and none of that. So that's an example of how you should carry yourself. You're not going to see me out at a grand session just throwing it back. No, because of not only of the position I have, but the example I must set. Because
Right.
somebody's going to come behind me and be a past grandmaster or a sitting grandmaster.
That's
So I
right.
must be able to demonstrate how to subdue those passions and them things that you like to do. And everybody don't have to know about that. So there's some decorum to how you should carry yourself.
Well, you see, what we do, I developed a cube system of training.
Okay.
And basically it covers from, I like to say, coming in out of the rain. It covers the new
Mm-hmm.
coming in out of the rain, basically on the front room of King Solomon's temple. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so we guide them through the first degree, and they have to learn X amount of things and be able to um, talk on those points too. We're not gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
We're not gonna just talk to them and let them regurgitate stuff. They have to
Right.
communicate. They have to give us an understanding or their level of understanding that they have at that time, and then we take it
Mm-hmm.
to the second degree and the third degree. And so when they make it around that cube, now they're ready for leadership. And who knows? Hopefully, we have us a worshipful master or at least a leader, an additional leader in the organization.
So
And
we have something very similar that we're both working on to help develop those individuals to be in those particular positions of leadership within our Masonic organization. That's a good thing to have. I know some Grand Lodges have different activities and things like that, but I think every Masonic Lodge should have a process of helping to develop uh, to help develop their members and to be those what we call better men or good masons, however you want to sum that up. And until you do that, you're going to have some masons that run amok.
oh,
Let's just be
definitely,
honest. You've seen it.
yeah.
Don't shout.
Uh,
You've seen it.
well, let me say this to you, okay?
What?
I've been guilty a time or two.
Hey, we all have.
And then they pull my coattail, okay? And that, brother Mohammed, is why I chose the cube system of training, because the cube
Okay.
to me is the perfect symbol of a master mason. The cube
All
says
right.
I am the same at all times, everywhere, in any situation. And I actually carry it around in my pocket. So if you irritate me or whatever the case may be, you see me put my hand in my pocket, I'm going to play with my cube so that I don't.
It's a reminder, huh?
Exactly. Exactly. You know, if you watch the Oriental Kung Fu movies and
Right.
I'll go back to Hulk Hogan, you know, they beat
Uh-huh.
him to death, right? And then all of a sudden he goes back and gets his center and he comes back better than ever. Well, we have to have a trigger to keep us on target.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, the world, the devil, the world, and our flesh are constantly attacking us.
Absolutely. I was talking with past Grandmaster Bunny Watkins of the Most Wishful Sons of Light Grand Lodge here in California. He showed me his Masonic ring. On the back of his ring, he had rubbed it so much until he rubbed until it just broke. And I asked him, I said, "Why do you do that? Why did you do that?" And he said it was to remind me of my obligation and the penalties of my obligation. So when I'm in a situation, I just rub the back of it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's a reminder, as you said in regards to the cube. And I thought about that. I'm like, oh, okay. Okay. So there are different tidbits that we all can use in helping to develop and to remind us of those things. And that's a great concept. That cube, you may have to send me a cube.
Glad to do it. And once we stop the recording, I'll show you what we use. Another thing that's critical is, as I said, alluded to earlier, is finding a kindred spirits. You want to find a lodge
Mm-hmm.
that is doing are heading in the direction you want to head, you want to take your life. You know,
Correct.
I like to say that as Masons, we are godly men, and we should uh, carry ourselves as such. So you
Uh
want
huh.
to identify the spirit of the lodge. And
Hmm.
I say that I tell my master Masons or in my wish for masters that um, they need to be a man that lead their people past where they are. So a new guy
Correct.
coming in, he should be interested in being mentored by a Mason that's looking to move the new guy, the entered apprentice, past where he is.
Hmm.
And the second thing is usher you towards God. You know, the beautiful, I love asking Masons, well, you know, we all talk about King Solomon's temple. And when we go into King Solomon's temple, what's the objective? Where are we heading to? And they'll tell you in a minute, the Holy of Holies. And I'm going, okay, so once you get there, what happens? What's supposed to happen in there? And not too many are able to say what they're supposed to be able to do in the Holies of Holies. So the other thing I tell them is that as wish for masters, as master masons, they should be leading any and every entered apprentice or man under them, even well, laterally too, towards
Hmm.
God.
Hmm.
That's where we're supposed to be heading. And they're going to have to read and study to know God. And
Absolutely.
and therein lies a challenge, the reading and
It's
studying.
that is always the challenge. I believe that's why it's important that for those Masonic jurisdictions, wherever they may be, whatever lodge may be, they should have different classes to help develop that Mason. Because although you may meet once a month, which is fine, have that meeting. But I think having classes outside of your Masonic meeting helps to develop you where you can touch on things that you wouldn't necessarily touch on in your lodge meeting. We know the same old concept that happens in lodge meetings happens in any type of business meeting
Right.
for the most part. So you can do one or two things. And I would say this for us here, although we may have like I'm doing a class later on tonight, but I think you can do your business part of your lodge. You can do that on the outside by having, hey, you know what? I like to call an officers meeting so we can get through with the business, blah, blah, blah. And deal while you're in the lodge. Now you're going to deal with that spiritual aspect, that physical aspect, and that mental aspect of that inter apprentice, of that fellow craftsman. Plus, same can be said for the master mason. And that's where you be able to work on them to guide them to a higher conscious of what's actually taking place around them within the fraternal lodge. Because, like you said earlier, where are you trying to get to? Oh, the holies of holies or the holies of holies. Oh, really? Okay, so when you get there, what's next? Well, when you get there, what you gonna do? So that's where we need to start developing them as they're being guided, as you said, towards that direction.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's I I just want us to get to the point where we have um, got brothers understand that there's more to this than um, the regalia. As someone once said, costume jewelry, because
Hmm.
they get wired up about the regalia and all that kind of good stuff, and uh, too many feel like there can be a separation. Okay, in other words, I'm a Mason over here. Okay, and then when I leave the lodge, I can do whatever I want to do.
No, you can't. And that's why, again, like tonight, our class is going to be on the do's and don'ts as a Mason. So, as we touch upon those things, and as you said, you're going to, oh, look, once you take that obligation, that first one, you are now a Mason.
Right.
Okay. Now you need to start carrying yourself and developing yourself into that perfect ashlar because right now you're rough. So now those master masons that are in that lodge is going to help you become and develop to be a perfect ashlar so you can go into the next process. The ideal is that as lodges, we must develop a class of some sort to help and to guide that person. I know a lot of us go with the Q&A thing. We're going to Q&A to make sure that he's proficient. That's great. You know, that's great to develop the Q&A to make sure that he's proficient. But why don't you tell that person, look, I need you to do a lecture on the first degree. I need you to write me a lecture.
Yes, sir.
It needs to be at least 2 to 3 pages, and we need you to touch on these things. Because now he got to go back and do that research. Now he has to go back and check now.
He got to come up with the why.
There you go.
He got to come up with the why.
I mean,
well, that's how we're going to know that he understands what he's been reading. Because when I came through back in the early 80s, it was regurgitation. Q&A.
Absolutely.
That's all it was. They beat my butt and Q&A. Okay. And that's what I was saying earlier. We need to get away from the horseplay because that kind of overshadows the seriousness of this lifestyle.
Right. And it is a lifestyle. And I believe that once you introduce that person into that type of lifestyle, now they got to change or they're not going to be welcome here. You have to change. And when I say change, I'm talking about you have to look forward to becoming a better person. You have to. And if that's not what you want to do, then there's nothing I can do. But if you tell me, Hawkins, Brother Tony Muhammad, I want to become the better person, well, I can help you do that. I can help you. I want to be the example. A lot of times, most of us don't want to be the example because we got some things going on that we don't want nobody to see. So we don't.
Yeah. You gotta be willing to live.
You want to be the example.
Yeah.
You want to be the example, that Grandmaster. It doesn't matter because you're telling him, you're showing him, look, I got flaws, but in the process of my flaws, I'm still at work. And you're going to always be at work. Always.
Well, absolutely. We got to be willing to live in a glass house, as they used to say. Let me run this by you real quick. And there are 5 things that should describe a man after having completed his studies and work in the Masonic order. Number 1, he should intentionally reflect on what to say, how to behave, how to make decisions in a way that is reflective of godly values and beliefs. So we no longer operate off of feeling and emotion. We stand on truth. The second thing is, need to be the same authentic person regardless of the situation. That is why I came up with the CUBE system of training, because that helps me to remember how I'm supposed to stand, flat-footed, steadfast, regardless of the situation. I think they said circumstances or excuses for the weak, and they're fuel for the strong. You need to recognize the impact that we have on others. That's another thing that's important, because everybody's not as strong as we are. Like you said,
no, they're not.
If you're at that function throwing them back, you maybe can handle 4 or 5. And back in my younger day, I could too. However, right now, I think I'm down to about 2. Okay. That's another story. I can tell you some stories around that. But as you get older, you can't do what you used to do.
No.
And nor should you. Nor should you. Because somebody's looking and you have an impact on other men. So the 4th thing is we should focus on developing character and wholeness both in ourselves and our brothers. And that's something that we really have to focus in on and not accept all the rigmarole, the tomfoolery and so forth. that our brothers are doing.
Right.
Yeah. So, but anyway, you did say you have a meeting. I just wanted to touch bases with you.
No, I'm still good. I'll let you know by the time I get ready to start. But I did want to share this with you
Go ahead.
as you was going through that, and I think you touched upon this once before. In the process of all of that, we must be able to have a mindful, prayerful behavior. We must have a mindful, prayerful behavior, because if you don't have that in all that you've just said, that's going to be like having a tire with no air in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
and I think you got something in your book in relates to that too.
Yeah, probably. I have to go back and read that, Brother Muhammad. Okay, it's been a minute. And
I'm
you know
just
what?
saying now,
Hey,
you wrote a book and it got some good stuff in there now.
spaced repetition is good for you. That's why you go to church or the mosque or wherever you go, and they talking about the same thing they talked about 6 weeks ago, and you want to say, "Yeah, I heard that before." But if you listen, you get a new revelation. So,
Absolutely.
so every now and then you got to pick up the books and reread them. And of course, I'm notorious for making notes in my Bible, notes in my books, so that I know where I was at that time.
Uh-huh.
And so it just helps you to get the understanding. We just have to be solidly. We have to guide men to being real men. I say all the time about having Masonic males because they have two balls and a bat, but not Masonic men. Okay, and that's a challenge because again, too many of us want to operate on feelings and emotions.
Well, in the Masonic concept and construct, we talk about those things on a esoteric level. When you talk about feelings and emotion, how shall I know you to be a Mason unless I can feel the grip or see the sign and make that relative to being able to subdue my passions. When you're able to set aside that ego, and because as I said the other day, I said a infant, I'm not an infant, a child, someone like from 5 to 10, maybe even 12. Okay, they're gonna tell you the truth. You may not like it, but they'll tell you the truth. If you fat, they're gonna tell you fat.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be filtered. An older guy, is gonna tell you the truth. He gonna give it to you. You may not like it, but it's gonna be there. And a drunk gonna tell you too.
Yes, sir.
And you know who else is gonna tell you? Somebody who's mad.
Yeah.
Somebody who's mad is gonna tell you how they feel about you.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. And trust me, that's how they feel about you. And then when they come back to apologize after they've thought about what they said, you should understand that person said it out of anger, but he meant it. He said it from his heart.
Right.
Okay? So anything that is in here is going to eventually come out. So when that person is upset at you and they say, "I never liked you in the beginning," trust what they say, because they said it in anger and they meant it from their heart because it came out. They was holding it back. They was like, oh, and all of a sudden, boom, like a pipe wanted to bust. It just came out.
But see, that's when you have to be in control of your vessel. That's where the cube comes in at. Because
absolutely,
if you attack me like that, I'm gonna play with my cube. I'm gonna refrain. I'm gonna restrain myself, and I'm gonna weigh what you say. If there's some validity to it, then I'm man enough to make some adjustments. If I feel like it's just your feelings and there's no validity to it, then that's it. Don't worry about it. I'm not concerned about it. And I can flush it. And that's the way, because see, we allow too many people to take control of us with our
we
anger.
give them that control.
with our anger and so forth. I tell men coming in, we say we take good men and make them better. We're not gonna make you better. We're gonna work with you and help you make yourself better. If you give me the power to make you better, then I can make you worse. Then I can own you. So I'll work with you to become a better man. And that's that's the most I can do. But you have to do it yourself.
That's true. That's true. You have to do it yourself. So I'm gonna share with you some things that we're working on. So there's different exercises that we're attending to within our Masonic lodges here. So we're doing different exercises. One exercise is that what we say is at the next Masonic function that you attend, we want you to make every effort to closely attend to your physical sensations as you experience the event.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. That's part of one lesson, one exercise. The next exercise we're going to do is after having completed exercise 1, because there's more to it, at the next function that you attend, make every effort to closely attend to your emotion as you experience the event.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. Now, once you get done with that, the third exercise, at the next function you attend, we want you to attend the mental activity as you experience it. Okay? And then from there, on the fourth exercise, what we want you to do is to attend to the spirit as you experience it.
Okay.
So those are the 4. It was a little bit more, but those are the exercises that we are using for the inner apprentice, the fellow craft, including the master mason. Because in every lodge meeting that you come to, there should be an experience that you're going to be attending to.
Amen.
And I just gave you 4 of them.
Okay. Okay. I got you. And see, that's the thing. In order for any of this to work, in order for me to make myself a better man, I'm going to have to think. And I got to pay attention to what's going on over here in my temple.
Correct.
If not, I'm going to be a tabernacle. Because when you say something, it sounds good. Fred says something, it sounds good. Mary does something, I get upset. I'm just blowing in the wind. But if I'm going to have a temple, then I have to address these 4 or 5 things that you just mentioned.
Absolutely.
I got you. We good.
Okay.
We good. Well, I appreciate it. Hold on just a minute. I'm going to stop the recording, but I will say to you all, hopefully you've enjoyed our conversation. Remember John G. Jones Research Lodge and Mount Tabor Grand Lodge YouTube channel. View our videos, subscribe, and if you feel like you're really getting something out of this, you're welcome to send us some type of donation. So with that in mind, we're going to thank you very much. All right. A minute. I did the wrong thing.